Welcome back everyone to the Pali Bible series, and today by popular request we're going to be covering the Force Reactive Disc. Plenty of people have been asking about it. We've tested the Skullflame shield, the Sporgar shield, our regular Previous Platinum shield that we get out of Shadow Labs, and we're of course in our iconic place, Strat Live. We're currently in the beta. I've got close to Previous gear. I want to go over the stats and show you what I've got. I've stacked a little bit of block. My avoidance is currently at 64.8. My spell power is 213, so it could be a little bit better. We could swap some pieces around, but for the sake of getting prepared for gold farming for TBC with your Paladin, I want to highlight this item and show its usefulness. So my amount of avoidance and the amount of spell damage that I have is going to affect some of these items' usefulness. So if people tell you that Skullflame shield is no good, or Sporgar shield is best in slot, there's tons of variables that go into whether or not the application of poisons from Sporgar shield actually increase your kill times. So while it does do 25,000 damage on some of these 8 pulls in here, is it actually better than Skullflame shield? There's a lot of variables, but for the sake of this video, I want to cover the Force Reactive Disc. Its proc rate. Here's a couple points that I want to cover: is the proximity that it procs, the rate at which it procs, how much damage each proc does, how much durability the Force Reactive Disc takes. So a lot of people, before I even decided to test this, I've just kept hearing, well, Force Reactive Disc is bad. Similar to Skullflame shield because it breaks too soon and early and right away. We'll get into the details of that, and then how much does the repair cost on the shield. So hopefully we can cover those bullet points here and you learn a little bit about Force Reactive Disc and whether or not you should prepare this for your Paladin in your TBC gold farms. I went ahead and added a Brilliant Wizard Oil because I don't have the 40 spell damage on my one-hander like a lot of people have, so my healing is 249 just as you look over this pull and look at the stats. I just wanted to add that before we start. Okay, so let's test out Force Reactive Disc. It reads, when the shield blocks, it releases an electrical charge that damages all nearby enemies. It also has a chance of damaging the shield. So let's just pull this first pack. Let's see its effectiveness, its proc, what it looks like. The first thing I want to show is the proximity of where this damages everybody. So we have the spellcaster right here. I want to show you how far out it gets. So it looks like about 3 yards it'll proc. So you got to have everybody stacked on top of you. Now, the next thing I want to point out is how often does this shield proc? Is it every single block? Is it, does it have an internal cooldown? What it looks like right now, I'll go ahead and pop Holy Shield, which is going to ensure, give me 30% more chance for blocks. It looks like, as you can see, it's on the global cooldown, so it can only proc every 1 second. And you see my Holy Shields, there's 8 blocks going out, and obviously we're not getting 8 procs. But it does look like it's stuck on this global cooldown, so it can only proc every 1 second. But it's infinite. Also, now what does the damage look like? It looks like 26 is the baseline. 26 to 52. Those aren't even crits. 54 on crit. So 25 to 50 damage is what each proc does. It's kind of unique. It's pretty cool. So yeah, you see 8 blocks went out, and I think two procs happened. So I think that it's stuck. It can only proc every 1 second. So in order to get like an accurate test of how effective the shield is, I'm going to do... there's 3 different pulls that I'm able to pull off with the gear set that I have right now. Once we get raiding gear, you'll be able to do this in 1 pull, maybe pop some Zanzas, but I've made a couple other testing videos with Argent Defender and this idea of shield twisting. We showed that this is a 250 gold per hour farm, so this is going to be consistent. We have the same gear set with some of the previous videos that we've tested already. So if you want to check those out, you can find them in the Pali Bible series. Guys, if you like the video in this series, please give the video a like. It truly does help, and subscribe and put the bell on so that you get push notifications whenever we post a new video. So we're going to do 3 pulls, 1 entire run with this Force Reactive Disc. I'll compare it to Skullflame shield and as well as the petrified Lichen Guard. So that's what we're going to compare the 3 items with today. We're going to take a look at these 3 shields. Now, if you want to check out the shield twisting idea, you can see that most recent video that we posted in the Pali Bible series. Without further ado, let's get this started. The rate at which this thing procs is pretty insane. I'm going to try and stand next to all the spellcasters so it goes off. Yeah, that was nasty. I'll say that's the first pull I've done with Force Reactive Disc. We did so much damage. I got to the bubble while all the mobs were almost dead. It feels like I killed stuff a lot faster. I'm assuming this Force Reactive Disc did insane DPS. Let me see the damage done. With Force Reactive was 52,805. Also, after that one pull, Force Reactive Disc already has taken half of its durability loss. So, we'll talk about some of the variables of this, but yeah, we've already chewed through half of its durability. Not looking too hot at the moment. I pulled 8 on the first pull, 7 packs on the second one, and let me show you the stats here. The amount of damage done from 1809. Force Reactive Disc did 54,000 on the second pull. 54,000 damage. On the first pull, it did 52,000. So it did a little bit more with one less pack of mobs. Let's try this third one, and I'll tell you how many packs that we pull, and we'll see what the stats look like. Alright, so the shield's already broken. Let's put on the second one. So it lasted 2 entire pulls, though. It's interesting to know. Let's go ahead and pull this last pack. This last pull, Force Reactive Disc did 47,000, and this was with 1, 2, 3, 6 pulls. So it's pretty consistent, about 45 to 55,000 damage with the amount of pulls that we had. Now I do want to go over the durability lost. It should be about half, right at 65 out of 120. So let me lay down this repair bot and let's see how much these shields repair for. I did die on that second pull, so I'm not going to do the overall cost. It's normally a gold 25 to repair all my gear without dying, but I just want to show the shield repair cost, and I want to talk about this. So we could repair, how much does it cost? 219 for this one shield that went down. Not a terrible amount, considering it's a gold 25 for all my gear after each pull, including the shield. Granted, the petrified Lichen Guard or the Skullflame shield's only partially damaged. And then this shield, of course, is a gold 38. Now, we lost a shield and a half in these 3 pulls, which seems pretty brutal, and a lot of people are probably writing off the Force Reactive Disc right now. But I want to keep in mind that if you have a little bit better gear and you're pulling, which this isn't out of reason. Once we get better gear and I have a Zanza Flask, I'll be able to pull all 3 of these separate pulls into one, and the Force Reactive Disc will be able to proc on all of these mobs at a third of the amount of durability. So we're only going to have 1 pull's worth of durability in the future whenever we get better gear. So Force Reactive Disc actually won't cost as much to repair, and it is kind of expensive to craft, but once we get to TBC, you're going to be making so much gold in these runs. Carrying around a couple force reactive discs wouldn't be the end of the world. Also repairing after every single run, assuming that you pull, you know, all of strat, maybe you go to strat live, maybe you do some strat undead, or you're doing lower Blackrock Spire, maybe you're doing some pulls in Blackrock Depths. It wouldn't be out of reason to drop a field repair bot. So force reactive disc put up a pretty good fight, man. Pretty solid numbers. The question is, does force reactive disc speed up your amount of instance clears per hour? So I know it did a lot of damage, but if this doesn't increase your kill speed and the amount of instance runs that you get, is it really that much of an improvement? So now let's do the same thing with Skullflame shield, Petrified Lichen Guard, and you can really compare this shield with the others. Okay, first pull with Skullflame shield. It was a little bit more difficult than the force reactive disc. I'm just gonna assume we didn't have the 55,000 damage from the force reactive. Let's look. The damage done. We got 18,000 damage from the flame strike proc with our Skullflame shield, and then our healing done. Our healing with the drain life was 1702. Now these numbers are going to be a little bit low. I do want to point out when struck in combat. There might be controversy to this idea. I just made a video about shield twisting and talking about proccing Argent Defender to increase your block chance by 30% and then lowering your block value to where you partially block the damage from most of these mobs, so that those partial blocks count as chance on hits, which increase your proc rate. So there's a lot of variables going into this. I know Skullflame shield doesn't look that exciting right now, and you might even have to put in more effort to make it viable than it's worth, but that's just the first pull. Let's try 2 more. Okay, yeah, it didn't quite deal enough damage. Let me see real quick. Alright, so if we look at the second fight that we died on, the first one we did 18.7k damage. The second one we did nearly the exact same amount of flame strike damage, 18.7k. Let's look at the healing done. How many procs did we get out of this? Our drain life was 1975, and on the first encounter, the drain life was 1700. So pretty consistent. Those were both 8 pulls. Keep in mind that if I had more spell damage, like between 700 and 800 spell damage, which you could get at the end of phase 1, the drain life would be significant, 4 times the amount of what it is right now, nearly 3 times, rather. So instead of 1700, you could guesstimate, you know, this is maybe 5k. But the damage proc, again, if you go look at that shield twisting video, in theory, if we have more partial blocks, we'll proc this flame strike ability. Probably, you know, nearly 2-3 times more than what it did here. So this don't write off Skullflame shield right away is what I'm trying to say. Alright, so now for this third pull, let's see how much healing we got done. Our drain life healed for 2k this time around, so we just got a little bit lucky with the 3% lifesteal procs. Looks like we got a few more procs on this one, even though there was 2 less packs than the first pulls. And then the damage done with Flame Strike was 7,600 compared to, oh yeah, 18k and 18k. So yeah, it just looks like it didn't proc hardly at all this third time around. But if we had more testing, you'd be able to check it out. Like I said, Skullflame Shield is one of these items that you almost have to put a lot of effort into making it work, but I think that there is, you know, a scenario for it. I'm really fighting for you guys. All you guys that invested your life savings in these Skullflame Shields and you're trying to flip them, there's still hope. Alright, with all the other same variables, let's try Lichen Guard and see how we do this third time around. Okay, that pull definitely felt easier than the Skullflame Shield. Not as smooth as the Force Reactive Disc, if I can be honest. So for this fight, our Spore Cloud did 28,000 poison damage. Pretty good. Okay, barely pulled off that third pull. Let me see. This last fight that we just did, our Spore Cloud did 27,000. Yeah, compared to the one right before. Well, that's not right. 28,000. So pretty consistent. Same amount of mobs again. We had 8 packs. Checks out. In this final pull, Spore Cloud did 20,000. So yeah, there were like 2 less packs compared to those first 2, but pretty consistent. Just from, like I said, I just want to go over the values again. I've got 224 spell damage. My defense, I've got like 24% block. My dodge parry, it's an overall 64% avoidance at the moment. And there's a lot of variables that go into whether or not these shields or these items are good. There needs to be a lot more testing. Like I said, if we were to pull all of these mobs in one pull, and we had 3 times the amount of mobs to test these chance on hit procs, whether you do shield twisting and lower your block value to where you get partial blocks, there's a lot of different variables. But from a, you know, baseline, that's how effective Force Reactive Disc. It blows Skullflame Shield and Petrified Lichen Guard out of the water. It did twice as much damage as the Petrified Lichen Guard. And I mean, we had to repair it, but the repair cost isn't that terrible, assuming that you run around with field repair bots. So anyways, that was the testing of the shield. If you guys want to see other items tested, whether or not some items scale with spell damage, Wrath of Cenarius, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick that up on the beta. But if you guys want to see any other items tested in this field of Paladin gold farming, it doesn't have to be Strat Live. We can do other areas. Somebody's mentioned Maradon a couple times. We can try out Mara with our current gear set. But yeah, guys, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, if it was helpful. Subscribe and stick around for more in this Pally Bible series. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.